Question number 1 from our caller.
Good morning. This question for Mr. Bernstein. Mr. Bernstein, isn't it true that there are other parts of the criminal justice process which can allow a criminal defendant to go through this revolving door where the state's attorney's office has little or no control over?
Yes, I think that there are many other components of the criminal justice system, and I do think that it is unfair to lay all of the problems of the criminal justice system at the doorstep of the state's attorney's office. I do, however, believe strongly that the state's attorney's office is a very important part of that criminal justice system, and to the extent that it is working more efficiently and effectively, it will help to make the other parts of the criminal justice system work more effectively. Here is one example. We have often heard that it is the judges and the courts who contribute to the problem by not imposing the kinds of sentences on violent defendants that people might otherwise want, and which allows them to get back out on the street and commit more violent offenses. What I say is, if you have a state's attorney's office that is being much more strategic in its use of the resources, much more effective in its presentations, and building its conviction rate so you don't have such a low conviction rate, you then start to build respect and credibility with the bench, which frankly does not exist today between the state's attorney's office and the judges. Once you've built that credibility and respect, I think you then start to get the kind of sentences that you were looking for. And also, I believe,
Madam State's Attorney, will answer that.
Yes, again, Ms. Bernstein relies on misrepresentation. He continues to say we have the lowest conviction rate when he knows now, as a result of viewing the numbers, not from Patricia Jessamy, but from the Department of Corrections, that show that that is incorrect. He has gotten his numbers from a jury study done by the Able Foundation, which looked at 134 cases, 98 defendants. Same study which called for jurors from Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, and Howard County coming into Baltimore City, sitting on juries in the city. Those numbers are inaccurate. Again, he misrepresents the facts. We're getting people off the streets. We're doing a tremendous job of doing that, and cannot continue to repeat things that are inaccurate. The conviction rate is inaccurate.
may I respond briefly?
Briefly.
Very briefly. Obviously, for those of you that have been following this race, Ms. Jessamy and I, have different views about what we think the statistics have shown, and I know that people often think we're talking past each other. But let me just point out the following. The fact of the matter is, and these are the state's attorney's office's own data that they had to report that they were required to by statute. For serious offenses in which firearms are used, the conviction rate is less than 50%. For handgun possession charges, the conviction rate is less than 50%. For charges involving violent repeat offenders who are identified by the war room or charged with another offense, the conviction rate is 35%. And study after study after study has said that there is, at best, only a tenuous relationship between crime rates and commitment rates and how many people the police and the state's attorney's office lock up. That's just not a way to measure how effective you're being as state's attorney. And I just do not understand why the state's attorney's office refuses to maintain conviction rates, because I think that's the measure.
Again, you can have a 90% conviction rate, and if you're not getting the violent offenders to serve time in prison, it doesn't matter. Our commitment rates show that we are getting the violent offenders off the streets and committing them to prison. You can't get a commitment without a conviction. That means that you're 2 times more likely to go to jail in the city than you are any place else in the state. That's the highest conviction rate any way you look at it. I've had experience in the legislature with trying to reduce the number of good time credits that violent offenders get. Right now you can get up to 20 days, which means that you get 2/3 of your sentence reduced for participating in different kinds of programs. for real serious and violent offenders, that should be reduced. And we have been to the legislature on many occasions attempting to get the reduction.
I think that good time credits are an issue, and I agree with Ms. Jessamy that it's important to work to reduce the number of good time credits that inmates in the Baltimore City correctional system are able to earn. They certainly need to have some credit, because otherwise you run the risk of violence in the institution itself. But right now, I think that there are too many opportunities for good time credits where, as a result, we don't have what we refer to as truth in sentencing. I also believe that if we make more effective use of mandatory minimum penalties and mandatory minimum sentences for defendants who have a prior criminal record, I think we can help to eliminate this perception, which is, I guess, really reality, that violent criminals are able to get out much more quickly, something that I feel strongly the State's Attorney's Office just has not been doing.
Next question.
My question is for Mr. Bernstein. Many of us were hurt with the insensitivity dealing with the ad, dealing with the Dolphins. Is there anything you and your committee will not say or do to get elected?
Well, I'll talk about the ad in particular, because I think that we've been very balanced in how we have run our campaign. Dawson ad that we ran, we thought was important because it highlighted what we believe to be a significant flaw in the management of the State's Attorney's Office. The former victim witness coordinator for the State's Attorney's Office, Ms. Madden, is not someone I know. I did not know her before we announced our candidacy. She contacted us on her own after we announced, told us her story about what had happened in that incident, a story, I might add, that is consistent with what she said at the time. And so we felt it was important for the public to hear about it, and that's why we presented it.
Again, Mr. Bernstein misrepresents the facts. This entire campaign has been we know who Karl Rove is. He's the Republican strategist who exploits anything to get his candidate elected. Ms. Bernstein has done a Karl Rove style campaign. When it comes to Ms. Ditanya Madden, everyone knows when this incident happened, was discredited. Everything that was done in that case was done according to a procedure set up by Ms. Madden. And everyone knows, it's documented in the records that this family refused to go into the program. The Baltimore City Witness Protection Program is 100%. We have never lost a witness who enters the program. They have never been injured. They have never been murdered. That speaks to the effectiveness of the program. Mr. Bernstein has also said that we routinely put people up in flea bag hotels. We do that on occasion, probably, but we have safe houses that are located outside the state and in county. The reality and the facts are that the State's Attorney's Office has gotten violent criminals off the streets. We have contributed to a reduction, a tremendous reduction in crime, and we're sending the majority of people, 60%, to the Department of Corrections for serious crime, which equates to the highest conviction rate in the state.
Let me respond briefly, if I may. To me, it really points to what I said repeatedly about the disconnect between what she thinks is happening and what's happening on the ground. To me, that points to really the ineffectiveness of the witness protection program, because the fact of the matter is there have been many witnesses who, based on retaliation, have been killed, harmed, intimidated, or in many instances, murdered. And so, to me, what that suggests is not that those who are in the program or accept to be in the program are protected. It shows that the State's Attorney's Office is not doing an effective job in identifying those people who are subject to intimidation at an early stage and providing them with opportunities. Even if they initially say they're afraid or don't want to participate, you just don't stop there. If you think that in fact there is a serious risk, then you have to take additional steps to protect them. And that's something, I guess, where Ms. Jessamy and I respectfully would disagree about.